Aloha and welcome to the Bear Woznick adventure coming to you from Waikiki Beach. Beautiful Waikiki Beach here uh, on the birthday. We celebrate the birthday of Mary today, even though we're recording this. We're celebrating the birthday of Mary today here in Hawaii. We live right next to St. Augustine's Catholic Church by the sea. So if you're ever in Waikiki, email us and maybe we can go to Mass in the morning together and have coffee afterwards. So we'll be right back with Jason Jones and more of the Bear Woznick adventure.
Welcome to the Bear Woznick adventure. Kickstart that engine and roll thunder with the pack. Explore the grittiness of manly spirituality. Gain traction in the virtues. Soup up your spiritual engine by turning adversity into adventure. Now here's Bear Woznick. Let's ride.
Aloha, welcome to the Bear Woznick adventure. I usually start out with a nice, long, boring monologue. But today, because I've got Jason Jones in the house, I'm going to skip that. My good friend and most returning guest, the Jason Jones. Jason, how does it feel to be getting to talk to your hero right now?
I've got butterflies. I'm nervous. My palms are sweaty. I don't know what to do.
Hey, behind you, you have, I see film awards and all these books. Do they smell good? Do you like the just the
Are
scent?
you kidding me? Everywhere I go, look at this book. I'm rereading again and again. Oh, it smells so good. The State in Catholic Thought by Heinrich Roman. Then I have this new one I haven't read yet, From Achilles to Christ by the great Louis Marcos.
By who? By who?
This guy, Luis Marcos. This guy's great.
Gosh, I got to get all these books.
Then I've got this book's interesting. The Black Intellectual Tradition. You know, I'm surrounded by books. I love books.
Have you ever heard of this book, Dispatches from the Great Campaign?
I mean, that is a classic. That's the book. If you only have one book in your house, it should be the Bible. And then it should be that book, a collection of my writings over the past 30 years or so, almost 30 years, the past 29 years. Oh my God.
You know, you're so prolific. Every time we talk, you say, "Oh, I just wrote a new essay. What do you call it? White paper? What do you call it when these?"
Oh, I just published 1 minute ago, and I get a thrill. Like I write. I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he goes, "You're very brave." I mean, I would be if I had an audience, like if I had much of an audience. But
that's not true.
It's
everyone knows Jason Jones. Absolutely.
But I will say that when I write, if I'm writing, it's a punch, and I'm trying to land.
Yeah, it is. It's not a jab, is it? It's a punch.
Yeah,
it's a
I'm trying to
haymaker.
land.
Yeah,
I usually miss the mark. I usually don't damage the opponent at all, but I'm trying to.
Don't hit the referee. Okay, that's not good.
No, I don't want to hit the referee.
Well, we're going to talk about your book, but what's the one you just sent off today?
It's on Israel's failure to recognize the Armenian genocide and the cost that has had to not only Armenians, but to also Palestinians and Israelis. That Benjamin Netanyahu was on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, and Patrick Bet-David asked Netanyahu, why haven't you recognized the Armenian genocide? And he said, well, we have. And then he was, oh, we haven't. And then he kind of did on the podcast. It's a very big show. And then Erdogan of Turkey lost his mind and came out swinging at Netanyahu for acknowledging that Turkey committed a genocide. And it just shows you the reality of it all is that the reason why Israel has not recognized the Armenian genocide, although, I mean, many Israeli scholars and even educational institutions have, and many Israelis, of course, have, the state of Israel still has failed to recognize the Armenian genocide. And it's about realpolitik, that Turkey and Israel are partners in security. And for example, but this has had devastating impact on Christians in the region because 2 years ago now, it's one catastrophe after another. I can't keep track. Yeah, 2 years ago now, in Artsakh, a strip of land that had been inhabited by Armenians for thousands of years, the government of Azerbaijan, the Islamist brutal regime in Azerbaijan, of all things, backed by Turkey and Israel, ethnically cleansed the Christians from Artsakh, 120,000 Christians. So, and now in Jerusalem, the Armenians are being brutalized by Israelis, and their churches are being vandalized, and priests are being spit on. So yeah, I addressed that. It's a very controversial topic.
Let's talk about that. I was having coffee down here, went to mass the other morning, sat down and had coffee, and I heard this unique accent. And I asked them, are you Armenian? There was 4 of them there. And they said, yes, we live in California, but we're from Armenia. And I said, you were the first people to be called Christians, weren't you? And they said, yes. And then I'd asked them about this very topic. But that is their legacy. It was where people were first called Christians. And then you see this great persecution. Maybe many people aren't really clear on what the Armenian genocide was.
Yeah, in 1915, the Ottomans, in a fit of violence, which really, in the West, we have our mythology, and there's truth mixed with legend. And sort of as Catholics, we always think of the Great Struggle, which was a great struggle of Catholicism against Islam. But within the Ottoman Empire for 750 years, there were like well over 60 distinct religions that were sheltered and protected by the Ottoman Empire. And Christianity lasted from the time of Christ, obviously, and then after the time of Muhammad, and when Islam spread out through the region, Christians, you can think of countries like Lebanon and Syria and Iraq. These were Christian countries up until very recently, like modern history. And in the past 100 years after European colonialism, we've seen a real decimation of these ancient Christian communities. The Armenian. So in 1915, the Ottoman Empire, kind of in this,
which is the Muslim, another way of saying the Muslim
caliphate.
Yeah,
it was the caliphate, and in something that was uncharacteristic. Now, there had been fits of violence and extremism, but the Jews, for example, were much safer in the Ottoman Empire than they were in Christian Europe. Right, much safer. And this is just true. It's uncomfortable for people to hear these truths, but it's just true. So this Armenian genocide was this spasmodic fit of unprecedented violence by the Ottomans against not only the Armenians, we call it the Armenian genocide, but the Chaldeans, the Assyrians.
Were the Greeks also?
The Greeks, the Yazidis, they were all massacred. And in fact, so many Armenians fled to what was known then as Palestine, and the Palestinians received them and protected them. The Palestinian Muslims and Christian communities accepted these Armenians and sheltered them. And so that's why there's this Armenian community we still see in Jerusalem. Now, the same thing happened again after the Shoah, after the Holocaust, when the Jews came to what was then known as Palestine. They were received by the Palestinians, Muslims and Christians. You can see videos of the Palestinians waiting there and celebrating them. And things quickly devolved, and it wasn't a happy story. But so yeah, you have this Armenian genocide, which is a great catastrophe. It's a great tragedy. And Hitler notoriously said to his leadership when they were preparing at the Wannsee Conference, the final solution, he said, "Who, after all, remembers the Armenians, the Armenian genocide?" In other words, the world doesn't talk about the Armenian genocide, so we can get away with this too. And this is why I think it's important. It's not just virtue signaling, but it is important that we honor and remember these catastrophes in the past. In fact, my first book, The Race to Save Our Century, that came out over a decade ago, I argued that the 20th century, the 21st century would be more violent than the 20th. You could say I've been a student of genocide since my earliest days at school. I had the privilege of going to the University of Hawaii with R.J. Rummel and Dr. Kate Joe. She was my faculty advisor. And I became really obsessed with genocides and democides. And I began to see
infanticide.
And infanticide. And I began to see as an undergraduate this vision of the future where I thought that the 21st century would see bigger wars and greater catastrophes.
No, it can't be. We're civilized now.
Well, you can't say that anymore, right? But when my book came out, my publisher thought I was a bit of a pessimist.
Yeah. I mean,
And I even they removed like 20 or some chapters or 20 pages on Ukraine. They said, "What's your obsession with Ukraine?"
well, and I'm Ukrainian, so
You
half
look at
Ukrainian. Yeah, yeah, very
and
good
you look
looking. Yeah,
And so, yeah,
you would
so
be a
the
good
reason I wrote
Ukrainian.
about that is I just said we need to remember the Armenian genocide. We
Yeah,
need to remember it. We need to call it for what it was. Turkey doesn't want us to do that, but who cares what Turkey wants? Turkey needs to acknowledge it more than anyone. It's more
yes,
important for Turkey to recognize the Armenian genocide than Israel, but Israel should also acknowledge it because you can think of the Jewish sense of the understanding of God as a God of justice, and the migrant and the weak and the vulnerable is because of the flight from Egypt. You know, and then you can think of the state of Israel was founded by those who survived the Shoah.
right. And people want to deny that.
Deny the Shoah.
Yeah, yeah.
And people want to deny the ethnic cleansing of Gaza.
Yeah,
As they call for the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, they'll say we need to take all 2 million people and send them somewhere else. And you say, well, that's ethnic cleansing. And they go, no, it's not. Like, that's literally the definition of ethnic cleansing.
We got to take a break. We're talking to my good friend Jason Jones. We'll be right back with the Bear Woznick adventure. Schoolofmanliness.com is a place for men of grit and grace to join together, to inspire, to encourage, and to challenge each other to grow in manly virtue. Members receive morning man meditations, a monthly curriculum that is rich with audio, video, and written content, and a trail guide to help you map out your new trajectory. Many of our members lead their sons through this same curriculum. Your membership gives you access to both the Man Cave, which is our non-Facebook type community, and the School of Manliness at schoolofmanliness.com. Become a member at schoolofmanliness.com. Deep Adventure Ministries is grateful to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for underwriting the Bear Woznick adventure on EWTN. Notre Dame Federal Credit Union provides car loans, mortgages, SBA loans, and depository accounts nationwide, as well as 24-hour support. Go to deepadventure.com to find their link, or go to NotreDameFCU.com. Mahalo to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for making the Bear Woznick adventure possible. My newest book, 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone?, has hit the top 5 in Christian books for a good reason. It's because men are searching for traction and a trail guide to live out the unique calling and the gifts that they were born with, that each man individually is factory loaded with by God. Paul said, be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, do all things in love. Finally, here is a book that talks with men the way men talk with each other. Just plain old straight shoot. By the way, Mama Bears, this is your chance to get this message to your men. Go to schoolofmanliness.com or anywhere books are sold. 12 Rules for Manliness. Where have all the cowboys gone?
This is a warning. The Bear Woznick adventure is dangerous. The radical change Bear challenges you to is not for wimps. Change this station now to a soft rock station before it's too late. You've been warned. Now, here is Bear Woznick.
Aloha, welcome to the Bear Woznick adventure. Believe it or not, my book, 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone?, is not actually based on my guest, Jason Jones. Many believe it to be so. But if you want to know where have all the men gone, well, Jason and his family lived here in Hawaii he's really Hawaiian deep in his heart for many years. And now they're in Texas where all the real men are, apparently. I guess that's why he had to leave there. But my book, 12 Rules for Manliness, is still doing really great. It's a great book for I love the mama bears when they buy this book for the men and their families. It's a great book for young men that are entering high school or going on to college. It's a great book for actually young women love to read it too, because it helps them understand what a real man is when they're looking for that. Because when Cindy and I go out and speak, so often, right when we get to the place we're going to be speaking, we get surrounded by women. And the thing they tell us again and again and again is, please tell the men we want them to be men again. And so the book 12 Rules for Manliness lays out 12 elements that I think every man should ponder and consider and help develop their own creed and their own code to live by. So it's a really cool book. Check it out. You can go to our website, theschoolofmanliness.com, and you can buy it there, or Amazon or EWTN or wherever Catholic books or Christian books are sold. We got Jason Jones in the house. Yeah, Jason.
I just want to say it's such a great book, and just sort of even the, human beings are storytelling creatures. We have to tell ourselves stories, and we need models of manliness. And the cowboy to me is such a good model for manliness, because I think in my work, right? Like today, our organization, the Vulnerable People Project, our men were delivering food and treats, even slushies, to the Christians in Gaza as a special treat. And on their way there, they were robbed, guns shoved in their face. They told them they were going to kill them. They didn't kill them, but they robbed them of everything and all of our food and everything. And then an hour later, Israel bombed a building and damaging our kitchen. And 3 weeks ago, they flattened our warehouse. The IDF did, killing 2 of our employees and destroying 5,000 containers of baby formula. And when you see everyone on social media trying to pick a side, cheering a war on, and then I'm running a Catholic apostolate trying to serve civilians and women and children in the Christian communities in the midst of this war zone. And it's like, I don't have a team. I don't have a jersey. I'm not cheering it. It can be very lonely, very lonely. And I often will think of my favorite cowboy movies like The Searchers. And I'll just think of the Lone Ranger, or when we finish a rescue or a mission, and then the war is over, and now all the big money comes and all the big aid organizations come, and we say goodbye, and we leave like the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, you ride off into the West. The thing is,
because there's another battle. And so for me, sort of the imagery and growing up reading Louis L'Amour and watching the great cowboy movies and the Cisco Kid as a kid, every Saturday morning. And
I used to surf at Leo Carrillo Beach, great surf spot named after the Cisco Kid.
Really?
His sidekick, yeah.
That's great. And we would, and so it really helps me, as silly as it sounds.
Louis L'Amour Western right here. I'm holding in my hands. Well, you know what it is? It's like, because the Louis L'Amour Westerns and so many of the Western books and the films are based on cardinal virtues: justice, self-mastery, prudence, fortitude, and it's very difficult. Sometimes I will get cowboys on my show. I have a cowboy coming on my show next, and you try to get them to tell their story, and they're so restrained in talking about themselves. You want to hear
they're real men. That's okay. Yeah. So you just hit the nail on the head. I just wrote an article of my Substack, the Jason Jones Show. If you're on Substack, you got to get my Substack, and it's where I write things that are too spicy for I write for American Conservative, Chronicles, Crisis, The Stream. But when I write something,
and your publisher, Sophia Institute, that says a lot.
Yeah,
too.
And I publish it, Sophia. But I know when I write a column, it's a little, I do it on my Substack. So it's
you don't go for the chin, you go for the throat. In other words,
yeah, that's what But I wrote an article on what I said. I go muscular Christianity has failed. This like clown show of what we call muscular Christianity. I said it, and we need to replace it with what I call calloused hands Christianity.
Working hands.
It's the solid, dignified, manly Christianity, not this puffed up braggadocio. And I thought about this. This is the real problem. You and I were surrounded by calloused hands men. They might not have been Christians,
right?
But they were calloused hands men,
virtuous. Yeah.
And they had virtue and a weight. They had a weight and a dignity to them, which I don't have. And I even said in there, I'm a muscular Christian, right? I'm an athlete. I work out. I do boxing, whatever. And it's not to my credit. It's kind of like I'm still boyish. Maybe it would be better if putting posts outside of my ranch or helping my neighbor fix his faucet. I can't fix a faucet. And
I know how. I'm so embarrassed for you, man. I know how to fix a faucet. First, you get an estimate.
I can do
No,
that.
but I want to tell you something along this lines.
No, first you ask your wife to get an estimate.
Oh,
This
my
is how
wife on our boat, she's the mechanic. She does boat yoga. She can get down below and she does all the mechanical stuff. She's actually good at that kind of stuff. I navigate and stuff. But no, when I was in Boise, Idaho, where the cowboys are.
Yeah.
At Salt and Light Radio there, and we had a gala for their radio fundraiser for the radio show, and this gentleman came up, introduced himself, and tall, thin, kind of an older version of other Clint Eastwood kind of man. And I shook his hand, and it was exactly as you say. It was big and it was strong. He didn't look that strong. He was more that sinewy person.
Hands. You're like, what is
the
this
hands?
hand?
And I look at him and I see his belt buckle. It's not a Bodacious Rodeo belt buckle, but I look at him and I look up, and his wife's next to him. And I said, "Are you a cowboy?" He goes, "Well, I've always worked on ranches, And then the next day we did this motorcycle ride with 60 guys up into the mountains there. And they were the support vehicle. Isn't that cool? They were the support vehicle. He says it all. And I asked his wife, are men today anything like the cowboys, of the past? And she said, they're not anything like them. It was such a statement.
I'm not. No, yeah. I'm not. My grandfather was. My grandfather fought in World War II in Korea, came home, didn't know how, he lied. He told Ford he was a tool and die maker, just watched other people on the job and taught himself.
Didn't you lie to get into the military, though, about your age?
No, I didn't lie, but I joined the day I turned 17. I mean, I lied to get jobs before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I lied to get on your podcast, but no, but and then my grandpa came home from Korea and he built a house with his hands. Like I can still, whenever I go to home in Illinois, I go watch the house my grandfather put in the electrician. He was the electrician. He was the plumber. He did everything.
When did it burn down?
Pardon?
I'm just kidding.
No, it's still there. Yeah, but if I built a birdhouse, it would burn down. But here's the problem, Bear. And this is why I love your book. We're supposed to be selling my book, Dispatches for the
Your
Campaign.
Book, Dispatches from the Great Campaign.
Welcome to the Jason Jones Show, Bear.
Yeah.
Tell me more about your book. No, but I just want to say this about your book, why everyone needs to get it. Because it is really hard. Cowboys aren't going to have a podcast. You're not going to have a cowboy influencer because it would be boring. He'd be like, hi.
Yeah.
You ask him about himself and he would demur, like he's not talking about himself. He'd be like, Yeah, you asked him, was he a cowboy? And he said, I've worked on ranches my whole life. I've rode a horse once. Bear asked me if I was a cowboy.
Are you a cowboy, Jason?
You know it, of course.
Boy, howdy. Yeah.
Howdy. Yeah, right. This guy's worked on ranches my whole life.
But didn't we all aspire? We aspired to that sense of virtue. And I was thinking about who were the people that influenced me the most in my life. And I would say it was my dad, my football coach. And oh man, it's all these Westerns I watched and the Louis L'Amour Westerns. It showed us what virtue was and what it meant to be a man. I like what you said to me once. You said, I think you were saying how I taught Krishna Koya once how to surf, and he's not a vulnerable man, but in the water he was, because he's just all muscle. He could hardly paddle. He was so strong. And you were saying that some people can be very strong but find themselves in a vulnerable position.
Yeah.
And Louis L'Amour women were all, what's unique about his Westerns is the women were mostly very courageous and strong. They just found themselves, in too deep, in a vulnerable position. And that's what you do. The name of your ministry is the Vulnerable People Project. It doesn't mean they're not strong. They're just in a very vulnerable place. When we come back after
they're cowboys, Bear. Actually, I help cowboys. These people are oftentimes cowboys.
Yeah. So when we come back, let's talk about the Vulnerable People Project and more about your book, Dispatches from the Great Campaign. I love the title. It seems to me like you're embedded someplace writing these things, and it's true.
I was.
It's absolutely true. We'll be right back with my good friend Jason Jones, and we'll be talking about his book, Dispatches from the Great Campaign. We'll be right back with more of the Bear Woznick adventure. Go to schoolofmanliness.com and subscribe to our weekly email to receive video YouTube links of the Bear Woznick radio show, as well as the Spirit of Adventure with Bear and Cindy TV show, which, by the way, is filmed in the tropics, as well as our manly evangelistic YouTube shorts. Go to schoolofmanliness.com. People love our EWTN TV show, Long Ride Home with Bear Woznick. Thanks to you, the show has won 4 different Tally Awards. And now, instead of waiting each week for the next episode to air, you can actually binge watch our show and even share it with your friends when you go to deepadventure.com and join the Mama Bears or the Man Cave. Along with all the other benefits, you get total access to all the seasons of our aired episodes, plus instant access to episodes that won't even air for several months. Long Ride Home with Bear Woznick, a great way to communicate the gospel in a gritty enough way that even tough men will stop and watch at deepadventure.com. Here is a YouTube video short, which is based on an excerpt from my newest book, 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? You got to become a man. John Wayne said, you're born a boy, but you got to become a man. When I was a boy, men around me lived up to these words. I wanted to live up to their cowboy code. It seemed the men, the fathers around me, all sought to do the same. I wanted to be tough like these men, to be fair like them, and I wanted to stand for something.
Be the kind of man that when he gets out of bed in the morning, the devil says, oh no, he's up. Go to deepadventure.com and invite Bear to speak.
Aloha, welcome back to the Bear Woznick Adventure. It's very distracting. My beautiful bride just walked by while I'm doing this show. What a great, miraculous gift she is to me. Want to invite everybody to go to our website, schoolofmanliness.com. It's really developed more and more over the years. We have a man cave where it's a non-Facebook community on our site. You have an iPhone app and you have the man cave itself. And we post the stupid things we do and the prayers that we need and the challenges that we challenge each other with and encourage each other. And we have once a month, we have a Zoom meetup with all the men. Not Zoom, it's our own internal capability in our website. And then we have the School of Manliness, which is really developing. Part of it is based on my book, 12 Rules for Manliness. But we have our ramrod, Brad Rushmore, who's a cowboy. He's a bull rider. He and I have been working with Martin Matulia out there in Alabama with EWTN on a book that's a trail guide to go with 12 Rules for Manliness, where you can sit on Saturday mornings and sit for an hour and kind of go through the curriculum. Some of it's radio, some of it's video, some of it's written, and you can take self-assessments, but it's helping you to get gritty, get real. You know, we always say it's grit and grace, but you need the grit to set a new trajectory in your life, and you need traction, and that's what we do for each other at the School of Manliness. So schoolofmanliness.com, you can go there to get all of our books and stuff too. We have Jason Jones with us in the house. Hey, Jason, are you in Texas right now?
I am, yeah.
Can we have your address in case someone wants to come and
yeah, no, sure.
destroy your home?
444-4444 Woznick Way.
No, but your book, Dispatches from the Great Campaign and the Vulnerable People Project. Can you start out by telling us about that? I mean, you're the one that taught me that. You were saying, you were giving the illustration, this is 10 years ago, of a very strong person who didn't know how to swim. You know, they might be great, they might be a boxer on the land, but if you put them in a certain circumstance, they could be vulnerable. And so powerful people can find themselves in vulnerable places. Can you tell us what the Vulnerable People Project is?
Yeah, I mean, I see it all the time in the martial arts. You know, I train at MMA gyms, and I'm a stand-up fighter, and I can go in, and when I go do jujitsu, I'm just toyed with by these guys. Just as it can be toying with me.
As soon as you get on the,
they'll come in and do Muay Thai with us.
Oh,
and then they can't throw a punch, and it's awkward, and they seem strange. And you can be an Olympic swimmer, but if you're thrown in the middle of the ocean, you're going to drown. If I come by in a boat, I can help you. That doesn't make me strong. It just makes me a guy with a boat. And this is something I've thought about just a lot. It's very humbling and even embarrassing. And I write about this in my book, The Dispatches from the Great Campaign, because I'm writing from war zones in Ukraine and Sudan and Gaza. And we're working with people that are just very strong, but incredibly vulnerable. And the truth is, the only thing I have going for me, my best attribute, my really only attribute is my incredibly good looks. But other than this, right here, what you're looking
Yeah.
at,
Oh, yeah. But that'll do it. That's enough
this is
right
it.
there.
Like, and
It's
this is as good as
overwhelming.
it gets with me. So
You
I'm
just
not
smile and
bright.
people, you just smile and they
Yeah.
drop their guns, right?
So I'm not an incredibly gifted person in any capacity. It's not false humility, but
It
as someone
is.
who runs
No,
an
you're
organization that
God's
is
gifted
involved in
you.
life
God has
and death
gifted
work.
you for this work. God has gifted you, and the beautiful thing is you've chosen to use the gifts that God's called you, given you to use to
And I'm
use.
grateful. And I'm always very grateful. I'm like, God, like this past couple of weeks, we had some tremendous successes to be a part of rescues and other things of wounded women and children. And it's a real honor to be a part of this. And I don't know why God allows me to be a part of this work. And I'm incredibly grateful. But
Mhm.
it is embarrassing. I really, it's embarrassing. I am a tall, blonde hair, blue eyed American with a blue passport, and that blue passport's a big deal. And you're going into places in the world where they may have not even had a formal education. They've lived their entire life in poverty, but their mind is sharp. They're brilliant.
Right.
They're
Right.
so intelligent. They're hardworking. They have virtue. I mean, they're humans. They have vices too, and they have foibles. They're not dolphins or unicorns like they're real
Like
humans,
me.
like you. But I can look at them and rightfully judge. Like, I'm not in their league, but yet their life depends on my ability to deliver, and it's humbling. And that's where I just kind of realized it's like the analogy of the guy with the boat and the Olympic swimmer. You know, if I see Bear Woznick out there and in the middle of the ocean, you're a world class athlete and waterman and swimmer. I could be in my dinghy, I could be in my little boat, or I could be in a yacht even, and bring you on board. I'm not some grand hero. I'm not strong. You shouldn't look up to me. You know, I'm just a guy with a boat. And that's what this book really is. It's a guy with a boat that has served strong people, and it's dispatches from the front lines of the culture war, a lot on abortion, a lot on immigration, a lot on war, but also from Hollywood. I write about my friendship with Steve Bannon, who I've known for 2 decades, and Andrew Breitbart, who is a very close friend of mine. And they're intimate essays. And my stepfather, who really was the father not only to me, but several brothers and sisters, he signed a lot of our birth certificates, and he wasn't our biological father. We used to joke, you know, don't let Al into near a hospital. He'll sign any birth certificates you put in front of him.
I was with you, I think, when he was about to
Oh, we
pass
were
away.
together in Napa
Yeah.
when I got the call that he was passing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by
Yeah.
God's grace, I got to go be with him. And I write about that experience. So, you know, you're going to go from Ukraine to Gaza, from Gaza to Hollywood. I talk about Bella and the movies we made. And I talk about being on a movie set with Andrew Breitbart, Atlas Shrugged, where Andrew and I play the mayor's aides, and we have little
Mm.
cameos. But, you know, on a movie set, when you have a little cameo, there's a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
And we were sitting around talking about God.
That's why people on a set can become such great friends, because there's just that time. You know, it's like a small community of people. You're in an enclosure, even if you're out in the middle of the public, you're enclosed. You're like in a circus tent almost, but
With food.
but you really, yeah, really good food. And you have time to develop a bit of a relationship with that team, and then you move on. But I want to say something. The people that are listening here, you talked about how you don't have necessarily great gifts, but the gifts that you have, even our limitations are a gift. The gifts that God's given us and the limitations are like navigational beacons, you know, the red and the green light that you pass through with your sailboat, you know, to go out. The limitations are good too, because the limitations say you can't do this. It's not my will for you to do this. And it causes you to grow in humility, so that the virtue part of you, the gifted part of you, can really be used by God. But so many people may not think that they have the ability or the gifts to respond to this call, but they do. They do. God can use. Doesn't have to necessarily be the most gifted. It's really the most willing. And then just say yes to God. I just remember that picture of Mother Angelica when I first went into the EWTN studios. You know the one I'm talking about, that big portrait.
I love
And
that picture.
got her
In the
hands
brown
clasped.
habit.
Yeah, and I get to sit in her chair.
Glasses.
Her chair is still in the green room there. But when I walked in, she looked at me like, had that kind of little nod, like, I know something you don't know, and it's time for you to get to work. So just step forward with the giftings that you have and the limitations that you have and watch God work. Just be responsive. Just say yes to the nudge, or as you like to say, the Holy Spirit action plan. So,
yeah, my friend gave me a new expression. He calls it the conspiracy of grace. I'm a high school dropout in the Army. I discovered I had dyslexia, whatever. They said I had ADHD. Everyone who looks at me, you're judging me right now. If people are listening, yeah, this guy does have ADHD. Whatever. The gift God gave me, really, I realized is that my job is to do things that people say are impossible. Well, my whole life, I'm a high school dropout. When I told my dad I was going to college after the Army, that's impossible. Then after I got my bachelor's, graduate school, that's impossible. Always told.
Well, in the military, when you you went to your sergeant, I think, or captain, and said, "I'm gonna fight abortion."
I'm an abortion, yeah.
And he looked at you like you were joking, and then I think he said,
"No,
he said you better have a plan." Yeah, have a plan.
That's so cool. You have a plan. He goes, "You can do it. Do you have a plan?" And that was such a great throw in.
Yeah.
That taught me. Now I always tell my team, no project, no plan. No project, no plan, no project.
Exactly.
Oftentimes I'll be like working on something, spinning my wheels for the longest time. And I'm like, no project manager, no plan, no project. What am I doing? I got to get a project manager for this. It's just sitting there. That's why. Duh.
Beautiful. That's a great leadership.
But I would say this to the young people listening. This is a line that I tell myself, like I'm my own football coach, in my own ear. Go get him, kid. And one of my lines is like, I say to myself, which is true. I think I'm a loser with high self-esteem. No success will make me stop feeling like a loser, and no failure will undermine my confidence.
That's beautiful.
So, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it makes perfect sense to me. I put it all on the line. And if I fail, get up.
Yeah. I remember in playing football, I was a fullback. Coach was amazed how slowly I ran, but I just remember.
I thought you were a fullback and not a halfback. You hit hard.
Yeah, exactly. I blocked for the halfback. No, but I just remember my dad gave me that illustration too of the fullback when he hits the line and it's first and goal and he hits the line on the 3-yard line and he gets stopped. He doesn't go back to the quarterback and say, "Give the ball to the halfback." He says, "Give it to me again." And give it to me again. And eventually he talked about how that adversity, that moment when adversity kind of almost launches you up and over them, that it launches you into God's plan. We're talking with Jason Jones. His newest book is Dispatches from the Great Campaign. We'll be right back with more of the Bear Woznick adventure. Deep Adventure Ministries is grateful to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for underwriting the Bear Woznick adventure on EWTN. Notre Dame Federal Credit Union provides car loans, mortgages, SBA loans, and depository accounts nationwide, as well as 24-hour support. Go to deepadventure.com to find their link, or go to NotreDameFCU.com. Mahalo to Notre Dame Federal Credit Union for making the Bear Woznick adventure possible. Here is a YouTube video short, which is based on an excerpt from my newest book, 12 Rules for Manliness, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? The world needs a man who will keep his word. Don't easily trust a man again who has broken his word to you. But if you give him a second chance, encourage him to be truthful and a man of his word, and inspect what you expect. As John Wayne once said, every man deserves a second chance, but keep a strong eye on him. The world needs men right now to be cowboys, to be a man who keeps his word. In fact, a man who is a man of the word, a man who keeps his word and knows God's word. Announcing Spirit Adventure TV with Bear and Cindy. So many people, especially you mama bears, tell us we want more of Bear and Cindy together. Well, we're happy to announce our website, spiritofadventuretv.com, as well as our YouTube channel, Bear Woznick Spirit of Adventure, where you can watch Spirit of Adventure TV with Bear and Cindy. Join us where we live in the Hawaiian Islands or where we sail our boat, the Spirit of Adventure, in the Caribbean. Experience both adventure and serenity with us. as we share our life together, as well as the joy and the wisdom of our faith. Go to spiritofadventuretv.com to find out more and subscribe on YouTube to Bear Woznick Spirit of Adventure. And join us, Spirit of Adventure, with Bear and Cindy.
Are you still listening? I thought we warned you to change to an easy listening station. Well, you asked for it. Here is more of the Bear Woznick Adventure.
Aloha and welcome back to the Bear Woznick Adventure. We have as our guest today, Jason Jones. So talk to the men and the women out there that God is, the thing is, you and I have seen God do the impossible, maybe more. Well, I'll just put it this way. If you want to see God do impossible things, then get in his will. Because you don't get to see God work if you're out on the periphery. But if you're saying, Lord, the most dangerous prayer a man can say is not my will, but thy will be done. That's a dangerous prayer. But when you say that and you keep focusing and centering to be in God's will, you get to see God do stuff. And there's moments like, I know you face them always. Well, this is a mission that I believe God's called me to. It's impossible for me to get this help to these people, get these people out of danger. And then all of a sudden, but you just keep walking towards your goal, and suddenly the mountain moves. But you don't get to see that if you're not in God's will. So men and women out there, I'm going to ask Jason to encourage the men and women out there that God has a calling on their life, but they need a little bit, they just need to take one step towards God's will, and they're in God's will. Just one step, and you're already in the right trajectory.
The homily today at Daily Mass was that, that when you're in God's will, things seem easier. And even when they're hard, because sometimes we're close to martyrdom.
Interesting. Yeah.
I worked on a campaign once that Steve McAveety, the producer of The Passion of the Christ, asked me to work on. And I was a young man at the time. This was 20 years ago. I had never lost a campaign. I've lost a lot since. And I had said to him, it was a political campaign. I don't want to work on this campaign because they're down by 32 points and there's 1 month left. I don't have a loss in my win-loss. I'm batting 1,000. I don't want to go up there and strike out. I can't win. And he said, some hills are worth dying on. Go give it your best shot. And, I think that's the point. I'll tell you, can I tell you the greatest thing that I've done? I mean, in the past month, we've rescued people in 3 different continents. We've delivered aid to the poorest people in the world. But how we can this was a big miracle for me. I can say nice things on podcasts, but I have like a bad temper. Like if I get cut off, I'm just the worst. If you talk in the movie theater, I'm just the worst.
Don't cut in line when you want your popcorn.
No. Did I tell you about that? That's a real thing that happened recently. It was horrible. No, I'm dead serious. No, my wife doesn't like going to movies with me. She's like, I'm always one movie away from life in prison. So, but we're, I'm working on it, guys. Pray for me. But I'm on my way to give a speech at a pro-life event a couple days ago. And I stop at a Mexican taco place in a little alley in Austin, like it's supposed to be the best taco place. I come back and guess what's on my truck? A boot. The boot where they lock your truck.
Oh, you're locked up.
Yeah, boot. And I don't know why. I wasn't mad. I'm like, I'm in a good mood. I was, and when the guy came up, and I was trying to send a wire to our security teams in Africa that guard Catholic churches. So I'm on the phone with the wiring girl. And then this guy comes up, he's an older guy in his 70s, Mexican guy, because you have to call. Then you got to give him your credit. So I'm giving him the credit card. I'm sending wiring. I'm making fun of both. I'm playing, just being silly with
bobbing and weaving.
And then I get off the one phone. I get off the call with the bank, and now it's just me and this Mexican guy. And he's 73 years old. And he goes, I said something, I'm teasing him about the boot. Like I'm just having fun with them. And I said, this is coming from I'm not even gonna say it was a horrible joke. I said it was a fun for a sick child or something like that. And here, I hope enjoy my money, God will bless you or something silly. And he goes, well, I don't believe in God. I'm the 173-year-old atheist Mexican you'll meet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I looked up. I was like, okay,
It's a
no,
godsident.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And I turned to him. I said, I'm sorry, that was my mother, Our Lady of Guadalupe. And she just told me she can't have a Mexican running around these streets denying her son. And then I reached into my counsel and I gave him a rosary. And I said, you just pray to your mother. You ask your mother to give you her son, ask your mother for her son to give you the grace to acknowledge him publicly. Because I know you believe in him. That's why I said to him, I know you believe in him. He goes, oh, I can't be telling people I believe in God. You know, my family knows, my friends know. And I'm like, oh, this is his brand. I'm the 73-year-old Mexican guy that doesn't believe in God. So I just, still holding his hand with the rosary, I just looked at him and I said, I don't care what you tell your son, your kids, your friends, your coworkers, but God hears you. He knows what you think. So just talk with him honestly. Be honest with God.
Yeah.
And he looks at me, and my friend is with me, this guy, Mike. And he looks at Mike, he goes, I've been doing this, I've been towing cars for 23 years and no one has ever been kind to me, talk to me about God.
Yeah.
And then it was just a great conversation. He drove away. Like, that's not characteristic of me. It's like Jason Jones' greatest hits, right? This is me at my best. But I turned to my friend Mike as we were driving away and I said, that's the best $130 I ever spent.
Yeah.
Because that's what it cost to get the boot off my car.
It's a godsend.
But my point being, like, what we do with the Vulnerable People Project and we do through our donors, people see us.
Let's talk about that. Before you got on, I wanted to bring that up. How can people support your mission?
Well, you go to our website, vulnerablepeopleproject.com. Go look at what we do. And when you see what we do, we document everything we do meticulously. If you want to be a part of it, become a donor. And, you know, I would say this. I mean, I'm the founder of the organization, but I founded it to go where no one else will go and do what no one else will do, to serve the most vulnerable people in the world when it's most difficult. And when you become a donor partner of ours, you get to do that too at vulnerablepeopleproject.com. But my whole point was, even in all the work that we do at VPP, to me, the most heroic thing I've ever done would be like that example of with the young man, the old man who towed my car. I didn't let my temper get the best of me, my anxiety that I was going to be late to give my speech, all of this, which on a different day, a different mood, I could have been horrible to this guy, you know, and he'd see my scapular, I'd be quite the scandal. But by God's grace, that day, I was able to do something very heroic to, you know, a man that's kind of vulnerable. It's probably not easy being a 73-year-old guy towing people's cars all day. That's got to get hairy, I'd have to imagine, from time to time. So, this is the opportunity that all of us have. I wish I didn't travel so much. I would like to play chess on Wednesdays with the old folks at the old folks home. I would like to do prison ministry. I would like to join the Lions Club or Rotary or belong to my local Toastmasters, which I used to do, and mentor young people who are just beginning in their careers. But right now, my work, it's just sort of all consuming and I'm not home enough to do this. But all of us have opportunities to be really engaged through our local pregnancy centers, prison ministries, homeless ministries, or really just walking around the planet Earth, wherever we are, and knowing that we're surrounded by people who are broken and lonely and confused. I'm often broken and lonely and confused, okay? And I have 7 kids, 4 grandkids, a lovely wife, a beautiful family, a great community.
And a really good friend, real good friend in Hawaii.
A really good friend in Hawaii. And I'm oftentimes overwhelmed with loneliness and I'm confused and lost. So imagine those of us who are blessed with all of these things, how other folks feel. And so we, by God's grace, are knit into his mystical body. And when we go, he's going. And what a privilege. Like, this is the greatest privilege.
And we are all part of that mission. And, you know, it's interesting when someone will come alongside you in what you're trying to accomplish. You know it's from the Lord. And then all of a sudden, you feel a puff of wind in the sails. It may be a donation. It may be someone coming in and saying, let me help you with this project. But especially I want to say to the I have so many friends my age that are retiring at the retirement age, and they just quit. And this is when they have the most skills and the most time and the most ability to offer to just roll up your sleeves and serve the Lord. So we want to encourage everybody. If God's calling you, I call it the nudge. then just take one step forward. And you got to meet Brad Rushmore earlier today, who wants to run for political office. He's a bull rider. He's the ramrod of our man cave. He's going to college at William and Mary in Virginia, and he feels a calling to run for office. And I encourage people, run for your local, get on the local PTA thing, get on your school board, run for political office, get on the church board. Jason, you got about a minute to wrap up you have 45 seconds. Wrap it up for us.
No,
I know you got another interview.
This podcast, your show, your apostolate, as men, and I know there are women peeking in here too, and mama bears, you call them, but as men with community, we're really blessed. We have to never take it for granted. And so, Bear, I just thank you for always being a mentor and a friend to me. I know that I live a charmed life because of the friends that I have. And we live in a very sad and lonely world. And that's an indictment on us as Christians, because we're the ones that should be salt and light. Our goal is to make this planet hospitable, to order these communities, our families, our local communities, the ecclesial communities and the state, to order them to be hospitable, to point people towards their eternal destination, which is heaven. And war is a great scandal. Violence is a great scandal. Civil unrest and the breakdown of the family is a great scandal. All of these things can lead people to hell. So our goal is to be in the midst as this darkness spreads the planet like a plague, to be light, and to make the planet a little warmer, to give a few more smiles, and all of this pointing towards Jesus Christ, who brought light into the world.
Praise God. Yeah, praise the Lord. I was just thinking about back in the day, there was this TV show called The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It was a detective show, and their arch enemies were the people from the evil geniuses at the organization called Chaos. And I think we still fight that today. And I think in bringing things into God's order, it's what men do. And then it's our women's job to bring us into order, kind of. But talking to my good friend Jason Jones, we got to run. I know you got another radio interview. Until next time, may the breath of the Holy Spirit aloha you. Will you do it with me, Jason? I always say that shout out. Aloha.
Chee-hoo.
Chee-hoo. I loved it.
I'm homesick, brother. I'm moving back. We're moving back soon.
Thanks for listening to the Bear Woznick Adventure. Find more manly conversation at the Bear Woznick Deep Adventure YouTube channel. Subscribe and ring the bell.